5:36 on KLAF News and Information in the afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kurt Gilchrist. FBI's general counsel says the Bureau has made it a top priority this year to gain the power of wiretap in real time, all forms of internet conversation, social media, and cloud storage. Joining us now is attorney Jimmy Ardoin of the Ardoin Law. Jimmy, thanks for joining us. Anything we do online really not that private?
You know, a lot of things that these courts decide on is what is your right to privacy. Well, when you're posting stuff on Facebook and posting stuff on Twitter, I think there's a legitimate argument to be made that your right to privacy is eroding pretty quickly there. You're putting a lot of stuff out there. A lot of people have their own blogs these days, so they're just putting a lot of stuff out in public that, you know, is eroding their rights under the Constitution voluntarily.
I think probably the best thing you can do is just kind of understand if you put something out there, there's a good chance it's pretty much for open season, right?
It is, and, you know, that's the newest thing in a lot of litigation is going in and getting not just your opponents or any witnesses' Facebook, but even jurors, potential jurors. They're posting stuff to figure out who can be a fair juror, who's not going to be a fair juror in your case. I think it's fair to say that if you're putting it out there, you can pretty much wipe away any expectation of privacy.
Now, but here's kind of the sticky thing, because as I interpreted what the FBI is saying is basically almost in real time they can kind of look at your emails and other stuff, which seems to me, I would think that if I'm sending an email to say just you and me, that's as if we're having a private conversation.
Well, it is, and kind of what the FBI is seeking to do, what they already have is the ability to monitor cell phone communications. Okay,
right.
There's an act out there, the Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act, that allows them to compel cell phone providers to place surveillance equipment on their network. For instance, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, all the major cell phone carriers are going to have that stuff installed into their system so the FBI can get quick access to it. Where the real rub comes is with Google, with Gmail, with GChat, with a lot of these free email services, the Yahoos, the Hotmails, all that sort of stuff. And the rub is going to come because, for instance, with the cell phone carriers, the carriers are just going to pass that cost of installing that surveillance equipment along to you and me.
Sure.
Well, when it's a free email system, how do you pass that cost along? So now it's become an expense for Google and Yahoo and everybody else. It's going to become an expense if the FBI gets their way, which Google is either going to have to charge for that and begin to charge for email services or make up for that somehow if the FBI is able to compel them to do that. And I agree with your perspective that all emails, if you don't have a nefarious purpose, they should be private.
You would think so. So, where are we headed with all this, I guess, is my question.
I think the FBI is probably going to get something that it wants, maybe not all of it. The troubling thing is that Andrew Weissman, their general counsel, is invoking the typical government card of, well, it's just really hard to talk about these things publicly. No, it's not. It's really not that hard to talk about it publicly. They just don't really want to have to come clean and tell what it is they want.
You know, I got to believe that the intent is probably there. If you've got known drug dealers or arms runners or whatever that you're investigating, you want to be able to go after them. But at the same time, it just opens up the Pandora's box for people that are doing right, like you and I, or in theory we're doing right, as far as they know, and our information not being as public.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like when one person did something in kindergarten class and the teacher was trying to figure out who it was. And so she asked the whole class and nobody would raise their hand and everybody got punished. This is a situation where you've got, obviously, people are committing crimes and doing bad things out there, and they're using Gmail, they're using Yahoo, they're using all the things that those of us who don't have criminal intent are using, and we're all going to, I think, pay the price for it at the end of the day.
Speaking of the end of the day, is this something that's going to take a while, or is this something that's going to come down fairly quick?
Yeah, I don't know. That's it, literally saying it takes an act of Congress. It does take an act of Congress, and so it could be next month. It could be next year. With the way things move in Washington, especially these days, where we can't even get judges passed to sit on the bench when we have a federal judge shortage. I'm not optimistic that something is going to get passed quickly. At the same time, however, the FBI sometimes figures out ways to get things done and short-circuit the system if they want to, I think.
Jimmy, I appreciate you spending a couple minutes. I know you're busy, so thanks. Have a great afternoon.
You bet. Thanks, Kurt.
That's Jimmy Ardoin. Still ahead on 570 KLAF, traffic and weather. Next, an update from the Wall Street Journal comes your way at 5:50, and the Mike Huckabee Report at 5:56. KLAF News and Information. It is 5:41.